And you compete all year round, even in their winters. There's no real off season. So it's been nice to have a break, but I think in recent years, like with COVID and stuff, when I did play in the majors, I didn't compete nowhere near enough. So, you know, when I teed it up in the Masters, it was probably the first time I played and competed in 5 months, you know. So I think just competing all the time, you never go into an event feeling perfect. So that's the thing. That's the one thing I've learned, is your game's never going to be where you want it to be going into events, but you just got to learn how to get around and how to score, really. Started playing golf when I was probably 11, and I was never that good really until I got into some regional squads. And when I left school when I was about 17 or 18, I managed to break into the England squad when I was 19, 20, and I peaked quite late, which I kind of liked because I never felt like I had extra pressure on me and had to live up to this big expectation. So yeah, I don't think I was ever that good when I was young, and then just put some work in and it started to kind of improve, which I quite liked there, stayed under the radar. So yeah, it's just been kind of like a steady progression each year, nothing crazy, but just kind of like a steady progression. I'd used Mizuno for probably about 8 years. So actually, I remember coming up here about 8 years ago, and my first set of Mizunos were the MP5s. I love them. So yeah, I've had quite a bit of history with the Mizuno clubs. If I actually look back to that, the golf I was playing going into it, I was actually playing really solid. It was my best year to date. My stroke play, like I'd always been better at match play, whereas that year my stroke play was improving drastically, and I was just super consistent. So, you know, when I did qualify and then progress through it, I was kind of not expecting it, but I had like a quiet confidence in myself, you know, so it was quite nice.
And then from there, you've played the Masters, you've played the Open.
Yeah.
Like a bit of a shock, or just a great experience? Or how do you process it now?
Yeah, it kind of feels surreal looking back at it. It happened so quick, and obviously a crazy time of COVID, so not much of my family could come out to the Masters and that kind of thing. But no, it's a great experience. I kind of took it in my stride and learned a lot from it, and it was good to see, you know, what the best guys in the world are doing.
You had a good second day at the Masters, didn't you, if I remember?
Yeah, I played well second day. Probably the best I've ever drove it, to be honest with you. Tee to green, I was amazing. Just struggled on the greens. But it was quite nice to see what the top guys are doing. They just manage their games very well, and it's refreshing to see, but it's like, for me now, it's like the hardest part is getting to that level again and getting onto the main tours. That's the toughest part, and then I believe, you know, once you're there, it is easier to maintain to an extent. Obviously, it's still, you've got to play good golf, but there's so many guys going to Q school, so many guys trying to make it now. That's the hardest part, to get there. And once you're there, it's a lot of pressure is kind of off your back, I'd say. Yeah, I'd much rather see it miss a little right, like a little spinny high right, which is usually my miss. But like what I'm working on technically at the minute, it's a little interesting. Like I'm trying to basically stay in my tilt more. So it's kind of almost shortening the backswing a little bit, so I've like lost a little bit of speed. Yeah, I would say that right is, if I actually think about my miss, it is right. It is like that. It's not like, it's not horrendous, it's never really off the planet, but it is left out a little right. Yeah, but it is mostly, it's my pattern, it's my technique, you know, it's. Yeah, it's funny because like I got a few adjustments as well that I can make, like gamer swing, and then if I'm trying to hit it a bit higher and harder. Yeah, it felt nice. Maybe it didn't look massively different. It definitely felt nice. Carry, probably, yeah, on my GC quad in South Africa, like if I'm swinging nicely, 295, 290, kind of around that range.
I like that. I think it gives you a good balance across the board. You know,
Yeah, exactly. I just like the way the ball flies. It suits my eye in terms of the window.
yeah,
And like I said, I don't feel like I'm really moving well towards the first time I've been driving in a while, but that's pretty money, really. It's consistent.
there's a set of numbers on average. That's pretty decent.
Yeah. The main thing I'd look for as well, like the club speed's actually pretty similar to the others.
Yep.
You know, because some people argue, oh, well, you're warmed up and you want to hit this one further because it's new. But if you actually look at the club speed, it's still pretty similar to the others.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not a lot wrong with that, but it's not as good as that.
That's a nice thing, I think, like this, the ball flight looks the same. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing for me. It's in my flight window.
Yeah, you look up and it's where you expect
I'm like,
to
yeah,
see it.
that's nice. Yeah, it's a little necky and it's spun a little bit, or it's gone a little right, but it's not like out the air, or it's gone a bit left, or do you know what I mean? It's always in that kind of window, which is nice, which is what I'm after, essentially.
No, I mean, the current gamer that Joe was using is good. I think we just made some incremental improvements versus, well, in the new model. It's the same version of the head in the fact that it's the Z driver. Just increased the loft a little bit, which has just improved the spin and launch characteristic a little bit, changing shaft as well to help get the launch up. Ball speeds crept up a little bit. Clubhead speeds, as Joe mentioned, has stayed very similar, so 112. It's not the warmest. Not been hitting balls for long, so after Christmas, so there'll be a bit more speed to come. But the spin and the launch characteristics are very tight. There's not a lot of deviation, so it's very consistent. And I think the one that you saw that was a little necky didn't span up, but not to a detrimental level, but still stayed in the fairway.
Yeah, and the ball speed was. Yeah, and the ball speed remained, which surprised me the most.
Yeah,
that was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Definitely stayed up.
Like for like, we're still seeing the new Z spinning a little bit less than the old Z, which most of the time is helping. It just happened in Joe's case, it needed a little bit of adjustment because Joe didn't want to drop spin.
Yeah, it was just a tweak of the head, like for like. When we sent the original Z out, it was a little bit low spin, a little bit right biased. So just a slight tweak internally, changed the loft up a little bit. Has just neutralised that out, added a little bit of spin by going up a degree of loft and squaring the face from a 9.5 up to 10.5. Just neutralised how the Z tends to roll open a little bit versus the X, which sits a lot squarer. There was a concern if we went to the X head in the 9.5 and turned it up, then it was going to bring a left shot in, which you don't want to see, do you? You don't like to see it left. No. So if we can have it straight at 10.5, falling right with a little bit more spin on the bad one, then happy days.
Yeah, I'll just, when I get back out to SA and actually get to play on the course, I'll just hit loads of shots of it. Go out for 9 holes in the evening. Try it in different holes, different scenarios, holes I don't like, tee shots I don't like, that kind of thing. And then just see how it flies, really. That's like how I like to test them. I'm looking forward to, I'll hit a few shots of it in the next few weeks, but you can't really tell until you're on the course.
Yeah, it's always a two-part process, isn't it? You can get it dialed in, get the numbers, but you need to sit out on course, and you'll move differently on course as well. And once you're warmer, you'll be able to go after it a little bit.
Like even with my old gamer, like I found it was great when I got fitted for it and it worked on the course straight away.
Yeah.
So I typically find it works nicely, that transition. So I'm excited.
Cool.
Looks pure. Set out some goals, like ultimately staying in Europe Challenge Tour through to DP Tour. Sunshine Tour's great, you compete all year round. There's some good opportunities with the co-sanction events where you can earn points to get on to the Challenge Tour and DP Tour. And then back in the summer, I'll probably play some clutch. You got to be realistic, but not put too much pressure on it. I think that's the biggest thing, is kind of accept where you are and keep focusing on kind of short-term process goals and stay in the moment, and try not to get ahead of yourself and worry about where you're going to be in a year. Stay in the moment and have some goals, but yeah, don't look too far ahead, because it can affect you in some way for sure.